Welcome to the Modern Manifestation Podcast. I'm your host, Bree Brown, a business mindset coach, entrepreneur, and a top competitor in a male-dominated industry. I'm a native Texan, the youngest of all brothers, and a lettuce-hating, wine-loving, curses-like-a-sailor recovering perfectionist. I've spent over a decade building my commission-based career, and my life's purpose is helping other women achieve the same multi-six-figure success I achieved before I was 25. I have a passion for helping women with mindset, money, and manifestation skills to help every young woman realize her full potential. If you're looking for vulnerable conversations, professional development, inspiration, or even a kick in the ass to get you motivated, you have come to the right place. Thanks for checking out the Modern Manifestation Podcast. Now let's jump right in to today's topic. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Modern Manifestation Podcast. I know this week's episode is a little late, and I really appreciate all y'all's patience. You probably already saw my Instagram, but I got stuck in Kansas City. We had family stuff to go attend to, and it started snowing literally 15 minutes before we were rolling off the runway. So, of course, I didn't have my laptop with me, and as much as I wanted to kick myself and say, I knew I should have brought it with me, I knew this might happen. I mean, the reality is, life just happens sometimes. And if the concept of manifestation has taught me anything, it's that sometimes you just gotta roll with shit. Sometimes things just don't go according to plan. And that's cool, right? We just have to be willing to let some of these things go that don't matter as much. And in all honesty, my consistent podcast schedule and my perfect attendance just had to go out the window. And I had to let my ego step down and just become comfortable with that. So I really appreciate your patience, and I'm going to actually just plan to bump out the schedule as a result. So next week we will not have an episode, and then we will pick things back up on the 28th of March. Okay, so let's get into today's topic. Today we are jumping into our final law of the 12 spiritual laws or guidelines. The final law we are covering, can't believe we're already here, is the law of gender. The law of gender states that we all have the potential to express both our feminine and masculine energy, because both can be found within us. So this is also the law of the yin and the yang, or the yin and the yang, however you pronounce it. And like nature, feminine energy is like a seed, and masculine energy is like pollen. So the feminine, or the seed, or the idea, needs to be fertilized by the masculine, or the pollen, or the action. And a seed cannot come into fruition without fertilization. And pollen is useless without a seed to pollinate. In other words, nature requires both energies in equal amounts in order to thrive, in order to keep moving forward and progressing. And just like our world, our own feeling of fulfillment in this life requires us to pull from both energies in any given situation. So our goal, in order to manifest the things we want, is to achieve balance between the two in our lives. And to achieve this balance, you might have to tap into the energy that you're not as comfortable with. And even though this law uses the word gender, this is not referring to sex or gender as we know it, okay? This isn't like male or female. This is just about the energetic quality. So the law of gender is a representation of the types of energy, but it has nothing to do with your sex organs, right? There are plenty examples of women who have more masculine energy and men who have more feminine energy. And if you've been listening to me long enough, you probably have already heard me say that I've always had more masculine energy. And so I'm working to balance out my own feminine. I'm trying to find ways to connect more with that side of me to bring this balance into my life more consistently. You've probably heard me in past episodes talk about doing less and being more, or working to embrace more of my feminine qualities. Those are all the same things. Nothing to do with male versus female. These are just the different qualities of energy. And I've never seen a study on this, but it wouldn't surprise me if more people have masculine energy because of what society has cultivated. Because I feel like as a society, we encourage more masculine energy, especially because the business world places a heavy emphasis on those qualities, and that can influence people. Even people who are more naturally feminine by nature can be shifting into this masculine energy in order to assimilate or in order to quote unquote succeed in the business world. So I think that a lot more of us are starting to lean into our masculine, even if you are more naturally feminine by nature. I think I've always been a little bit more masculine. I don't know if it's because of my brothers, and I'm not really sure. So I'm not a good candidate of someone that was more feminine that fell into the masculine, but I can speak to how that's showing up in the business world and how we can more intentionally try to shift into that more feminine. And I think by being too hyper-focused on this masculine energy in the business world is where we went wrong as a society. That's where I think a lot of things started getting messed up, and it's really starting to come to a head now. And thankfully, I think we're starting to see a shift toward including more of these feminine qualities into business. And I think as a result, we're going to start seeing more balance. We're going to see more people achieving more gender equality in the workforce. Not because it's like a female quality, but because whenever you're able to find the balance between these two things, you're able to allow more people to thrive that normally would not feel comfortable in a business setting, because you're allowing them to pull from both energy sources in a way that is comfortable. So I think as a result, the businesses that are willing to allow both energies to coexist well within are going to be more successful as a result. And I'll be the first to admit that I tried business as the super masculine person, right? Like that was what was natural to me. That's what was comfortable. And yet that was still keeping me from success because I wasn't integrating this feminine quality to me. So I would be doing all the things, I would be calculating my ROI on things, and I was very much in the masculine, the doing, the action. But what I wasn't doing is I wasn't getting in touch with my inner gut, my instincts, and I wasn't allowing those to have a place in my world. So as a result, I was missing opportunities. And when I integrated both energies equally, that's when I not only felt more like myself, but I also felt more successful and confident in what I was doing because it felt more right. It felt in balance. It didn't feel so one-sided, because I think other people feel that one-sidedness and they know something's not right, but they may not know what. And if that's ever been the case for you where you feel off or one of your coworkers who you love feels off, it could be that they're just leaning too much into one energy and not finding that balance. So let's talk about the difference between these two energy types. That way you know which one you're pulling from more in life. Let's start with masculine energy. Masculine energy is based in knowledge. It is application, action, logic, practicality, stability, willpower, focus, drive, clarity, all of these things. So if you're struggling to stay motivated, or you're impulsive or chaotic, or you're feeling lost, you might need to tap into your masculine energy more. You might need to turn that up. On the other hand, if you're always on the go, or you never allow downtime, you can't sit still, you operate in this black and white world, you might be tapping into your masculine energy too much. This is the energy of knowledge, of doing. And feminine energy is based in knowing. So masculine is knowledge, feminine is knowing. This is intuition, creativity, passion, nurturing, authentic, open, flowing, dynamic, perceptive. So if you're feeling blocked or hypercritical, resistant, judgmental, unfulfilled, or if you feel disconnected from yourself and those around you, you might need to tune into your feminine energy more. You might need to dial that up. But if you're struggling to execute, or you're trying to move past to the creation and onto the doing, or if you find yourself becoming very overcome by the emotions of others, then you might be tapping into your feminine energy a little too much. So as an example of each, if you have too much feminine energy and you're imbalanced, you might get stuck daydreaming without ever taking action. You might get stuck in the creation or even the thinking about creation without ever actually doing or application. And if you have too much masculine energy and you're imbalanced, then you might spend too much time being practical and killing great ideas before they even get off the ground. Or you could even be going so much that you never stop to think about all the other ways in which you could be doing something, potentially in better ways or easier ways. You're already in the execution mode and you're not stopping to think or not stopping to connect with, is this the best way? So having best of both worlds includes having balance between this masculine and feminine, this productivity and this creation. And as individuals who want to manifest the things we want, we have to embrace the yin and the yang. So to be in balance means not just having an idea, but taking action. Not just having knowledge, but knowing. Not just having passion, but also logic. And having all of these, it's like that little scale, right? The balancing of the two, trying to find the equilibrium between them. And falling into any one extreme will create an imbalance that can throw you off of your course, just like many of the other laws that we've talked about throughout this series. So when I mention balance, because I know I'm talking about it a lot in today's episode, I'm not just saying that every day you need to balance both, right? I'm not saying that at the end of the day, if you've had a super creative day, that doesn't mean you need to end the day with some serious action or logic or execution. I'm talking about just finding balance over a period of time or over the course of our lives. Because there will be certain phases of our lives where we need to lean more into one or the other. So it's like using the law of relativity or polarity. It's okay to kind of swing in and out of these phases where we're leaning more into one or the other. I will say, as a general rule of thumb, when you can learn to embrace both in anything that you do, I tend to find, for me anyway, I'm more successful when I can pull from both of these. But as an example, let's just say you're in college and you have a series of tests over the course of a difficult semester, it's okay to lean more into your masculine energy to get things done for a while. Or if you're trying to make a major life decision or a huge change, then it's okay to lean more into the feminine for a while. There are going to be phases where we want to pull from one or the other. And it's also okay to analyze things from both perspectives, to put on your hat and say, okay, from a masculine perspective, what are all the things that I'm thinking here? And then from a feminine perspective, what are all the other things I'm thinking about? And then that might be a good way for you to find that middle ground. To say, you know what, here's what combines both of those and that I feel is more aligned. So our goal is to achieve balance over the course of our lives, understanding that we will go through these phases and experiences where we just ebb and flow between the two, and that's okay. But what's important is that when you are going through these phases and you're shifting into one or the other energy, just notice when you're starting to feel drained or unmotivated or exhausted, because this might be a time to check in to see if you need to shift to the opposite energy for rest. So I realized in my business world that when I was hyperactive in the masculine, I would feel drained until I really embraced my feminine. And after a while, I started to realize this was a pattern. So if I had a really hectic day, I couldn't reset unless I did something that embraced my feminine when I got home. And so that's when I started incorporating more of these feminine things into my life. So how can I find some time to be creative? When can I let my intuition go? When can I start to incorporate some of these other passionate things to kind of balance out and round out the masculinity of my day-to-day job? And that's okay. That's a way that I've found balance. And for you, it might look different, right? Find balance in your own way. So if you're struggling to find rest and you're struggling to get motivated, just stop and pay attention and see whether or not that means that you might need to tune into the opposite energy a bit more, or if you're not quite finding that balance. And it's also worth noting that going into the opposite energy that you're not used to will feel awkward at first, especially if you've resisted it in any way. Like I resisted my feminine, and I used to get so annoyed by people that were very much in their feminine because A, it held up a mirror to me and said, hey girl, you're not doing this. You're not in your feminine at all. This person's very much in their feminine. What does it say about me? But then the other thing is I just felt very uncomfortable in the presence of feminine energy because it's something I wasn't used to. So that's okay. You might not want to go into that other energy, but that just means that you really need to go into that other energy. And I'm sorry if that doesn't feel comfortable, but I promise you that's what's going to really help you with manifestation. That's what's really going to help you balance out your life. And I promise while it might feel really challenging and draining at first, in the long run, you'll start to see how it balances things out and actually feels more restful to have both. So try it out little by little and just see how it feels, right? Maybe do a couple of things here and there and just try on the opposite energy of what it is that you normally sit in. Because in order to function at our peak as individuals or as a society, this law encourages us to utilize both our feminine and our masculine energies equally, because that is when we are at our most powerful. It's when we are utilizing both. Some of the greatest leaders in history utilized both. Passion and logic. Creativity and action. So to manifest what you want utilizing the law of gender, learn to pull from the feminine and the masculine energy as needed in any scenario. And the person who can successfully balance the two in most situations will have knowledge and wisdom beyond their years. They will have both the knowledge and the knowing. And that is a powerful combination. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. If you're enjoying this podcast, please share this episode with friends and family or write me a review to let me know. Have a fantastic rest of your week, and I will catch y'all next Monday. Until then, go out there and manifest some miracles. Thank y'all so much for hanging out with me today. If you enjoyed this podcast, hit subscribe so you can stay up to date with new episodes. As always, we would love it if you would share this episode with friends and family who could use the inspiration. As a new podcast show, we would really appreciate your honest feedback so I know what you like and what you could use more of. As a thank you for leaving us a rating, we will send you our 7 weekly tips to create space for abundance. Make sure you screenshot your review and email it to us at hello@themodernmanifestation.com so we can send them straight to your inbox. If you'd like to stay connected, you can find us on Instagram or Facebook at Modern Manifestation, or you can head to our website at themodernmanifestation.com. Thanks again for joining me, and I will catch y'all in the next episode.